It's like, welcome home. Yeah, we made it. We made it. Woo! For you social media lovers, this kind of went to a place, didn't it? Like really, contemplation is one of our weeks that we're doing in the fall program, and this gave us an opportunity to really look inside. And I don't know how it was for everyone in the room, and you know I'm following these different strands on TikTok, but it really touched me deeply when there came this ribbon, this vibration of prayer across not just Florida, not just the Southeast. People posted from Canada. People posted all the way across this nation. We are holding you in prayer. So whatever your belief system is, this monster was supposed to be a 5. This monster threatened to be a 5 until it hit. And it went, obviously, thank you to the indigenous tribes of the 1500s. Again, and then lovingly, gently helping our neighbors to the south that were affected. I can share with you, I have heard from Unity in Venice, their grounds have been torn up, but their sanctuary is safe. I've heard from Unity in Sarasota, again, the grounds are pretty messed up, but their sanctuary is safe. I have heard from Port Richey that people have lost homes. I haven't heard from all of our community, but we know there are people who can use more than our prayers. They can use a little substance. So I'm going to have that in the announcements, but just to let you know, we did raise about $1,000 last weekend, and first come, first serve. And if you remember, a couple weeks ago, I shared a story about the frog. Do y'all remember the frog? What does FROG mean? Fully rely on God. So I'm going to ask Nathan to come around and give you a little frog. Nathan, will you come help me do this? Everybody present gets to have a little frog, so you'll remember, fully rely on God. God is our source. God is our source. Thank you for all the energy that comes in here to create Sunday morning. It's like this synchro divinity that just rides up in the air and says, what are we doing today? You know, we sat down and Gabriel Nelson and I were kind of joking around, and I said, so you're going to do the meditation, right? Because sometimes he has a bowl with him or whatever. He goes, oh no, I'm going to do the talk today. And I went, what? And then when he got up here and did the meditation, he went to some beautiful places that I'm going to take you. So again, that synchro divinity that we are in and through the connection of spirit, yes? Yeah. Yes. And we are grateful. We are very grateful. So we're still working with our fall program, and today is commitment. And if you read in the newsletter, my topic said commitment the morning after. Now, for many of us, we've just experienced the morning after that maybe not have been what we might have thought it could have been. And maybe it was much better than what it could have been. So I look at what do we do in times when life appears to be difficult? What are we willing to sacrifice? My cousin Chris came in from Connecticut to stay with my aunt who's in her late 80s. She's out at Bel Air, and her concrete structure is very safe. He came in like probably one of the last flights, not worried about would the hurricane destroy where she lived, but worried about what happened if the electricity went out, because this complex has elevators. And some of you here know my Aunt Mary, and she's the only family member that has ever come to hear me speak. So thank you, Aunt Mary. Yes. So what I want to share about that is because she's a little bit older, she needs the elevator. So she knew when Chris flew in that at least he'd be able to help her whatever was going on. Now, you sometimes may imagine, oh, the minister has it all together, right? No. I'm also having a human journey experience with you. So my daughter, I guess the day before the hurricane, you know, we come from the Atlanta area, and many of our friends reached out, and you know I have monster dogs, about 200 pounds of monster dogs. And they said, come on anyways. Like, you need to get out of there. This one's a big one. This one is the big one. And I kept feeling into the community. What are we doing? How are we? Who's where? What's going on? And I felt into my neighborhood. Who's leaving? Who's staying? Who's boarding up? Who's sandbagging? Watching all the elements, physical elements around us. So my daughter says, we're going to talk about this when you get home. So I get home, and I said, I'm not leaving. She went, what do you mean we are not leaving? I said, I'm not called to leave. I honestly believe we're going to be okay. I'm not saying it's going to be fun, and I'm not saying there's not going to be some devastation. But down deep in the core of my spirit being, it said, I'm going to be okay. Since you're residing in the house with me, you're going to be okay too. Well, she didn't like that at all, and our house got a little loud. And I said, so here's the deal. You are 35 years old. If you want to take an Uber to the airport and get on the last flight to Atlanta, you're a big girl. You go do it. Well, bye-bye. That sounds like that Saturday night thing. Bye-bye. And I mean, with all my heart, I would lay down my life for my children. I do, both of them. And at the same time, she looked at me in that ferocious Leo business, and she said, this is on you. And I said, it's all on me, honey. Every decision I make is on me. Every decision you make is on you, right? We don't always like to hear that. Sometimes it's just easier to blame someone else for the decision we did or did not make. But we, as a community, make decisions every single day. They impact us individually. They impact our community. They impact the world around us. And there are influences that come in and through and at us, and we discern what is true. And my suggestion, my hope, my wish, my desire is when things are crazy, we take that breath in and we go to spirit, the understanding, the God of our understanding. And we ask, what is mine to do? Show me. Show me. Give me a signal. Let me feel that feeling of whatever it is. Because I'm not guaranteeing if another 5 is coming our way that I'm not hijacking it out of here in Atlanta. But that's another choice. It's a decision. Again, we take in what is around us. And again, I say go within and listen. Really listen. What do you hear? And if you're not that person that is audio, feel that vibration. For some of the community, it was more than nerve-wracking. I heard about it before and during, and you may find this a little bit amazing or not. There was a whole slew of us checking in with each other. Right afterwards, how are you? Are you okay? And here's a big one. Are we having church on Sunday? So we examine everything. We examine everything. I want to share 2 beautiful ministers with you. One that you hear me talk about frequently and one you don't hear as much about. Reverend Robert Brummett. He wrote this book, Finding Yourself in Transition, was in charge of the pastoral program at Unity Village for many, many years, and he's in his senior years now. But this is what Robert Brummett says. A commitment challenges us to take concrete action to walk our talk. Now, we love to get in our heads, and we love to explore concepts, and we might get mystical and metaphysical and ethereal, and then that hurricane is coming. What is your walk? Are you going to bring it down to this earthly level because we're spiritual beings having an earthly experience? Where are you in that particular moment? Not anyone else's moment, the present moment. Where are you? So I'm thinking, what is a commitment without action? Do you know we had a slew of people show up on the grounds yesterday and say, I am here for this community. I may have debris at my own house. There might be some other things I want to do, but it is important to me that these grounds are cleared, that cars can park here. These grounds are cleared and our children are safe in the big tent. We have a lot more work to do. We may have to bring in some helpful units to cut up some of the big trees back there that have dumped big branches. But we had people that walked their walk and talked their walk, walk their talk. So what is a commitment without action? And in my thought process, I think a commitment without action is a dream. I think it's a fantasy. I think it is a non-starting point. It's not realistic because I have not moved into action towards what I said I'm willing to do. Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements says, be impeccable with your word. Stand by your word. Your word can create or destroy. Be faultless with your word. Irreproachable, upright, uncorrupted, and squeaky clean. When you give your word to someone, there was a day and a time that it was a handshake and a word, and that was the deal. And you stood by that deal. So when you make a promise to someone, when you use words in an agreement, and you just don't show up, what happens? I had a wonderful friend in the Atlanta area. We were really, really close, 25 years at least. And she started going through a hard time. In her own mind, depression set in, and she wasn't always okay to be around groups of people. But I like to have dinner parties, like that's my thing. Y'all know my fifth love language for me is cooking for people. So friends would gather, and everybody would say, okay, I'll bring the corn on the cob, and I'll bring the salad, and I was cooking on the big green egg, so I always did the meat. And my friend would say, oh, I'll bring X or Y or Z. And then she just wouldn't show up. And I would check in on her. And we'd have another gathering. Oh, I'll bring. And she just wouldn't show up. So after a while, when people do that, what do? You don't call them. You don't count on them. They are not their word. And it doesn't mean that they're not going through something. But when you give your word, when you make a commitment, when you make an agreement and people rely on you, and you just don't show up, well, Robert Brummett says, not showing up is nothing about the other people. It's about showing up for you. When you make a commitment, you have to look inside yourself, and you have to ask, do I really want to do this? Am I just doing this because it's expected of me? Am I just doing this to please someone else? Or have I gone inside and said, I really want to do this. I want to paint the walls. I want to clean up outside. I'm going to share something with Greg, and I don't think he'll mind. When I first became the minister here, y'all know Greg works in numbers all day long for a living. He has served the board more than once. He has served any kind of financial commitments more than once. And he came into the office when I was next door, and he said, I just got to tell you something. I didn't know Greg very well yet. I'm getting to know people. And I said, well, sit down. Tell me what it is. I don't want to be the treasurer. And I said, who said anything about being the treasurer? He said, well, there's an expectation. People think I ought to be the treasurer. I said, Greg, what do you want to do? He said, I want to put my hands in the dirt. I said, yes. Put your hands in the dirt. Do what you love to do. He has a day all day long doing numbers. He wanted to put his hands in the dirt. Now, I am going to suggest for those of you who think it's only Greg's job or Stephen's job or anybody else who volunteers, it's not. Because if we do not want to take care of these grounds, I'm just going to lay it out there, then maybe this isn't the right place anymore. Take that in. Take a breath. We're going to have some discussions about this. If we do not financially support this community, our community will still be whole. We may have to make some decisions about where we physically are going to be. Don't be scared. We have opportunities. The lifeline here is commitment. What do you want to do? Where do you want to show up as part of this community? It's not scary. Play in the dirt. Write a check. Write another check. Just saying. So just where it's not just about time or talents. You have to take care of your own home too. And we have to take care of Unity of Palm Harbor. Or we just make another decision. Neither bad nor good. So I want to share more of Robert Brummett. A commitment requires discipline and often sacrifice. A commitment is not an obligation to something or someone outside of yourself because you put yourself on the line first. Someone else may rely on my commitment, and how do I feel about it? Stay in integrity, honoring you first. If it's not okay with you, don't make that commitment. I thought about this. I have a family member, and I played in this idea. And I thought, what are some of these really big commitments that we make and maybe we really didn't want to? And I have a cousin who walked down the aisle and said, I do. And right before she did, she didn't want to. How many of us made decisions like that? And then there's another side of it. When I entered the program for ministerial school, they were revamping the entire education system to become a minister. And I remember sitting down there with the heads of power, and they couldn't tell me exactly what the next 3 years were going to look like. I like to know some things. So we trust the process. We have faith that whatever I'm sacrificing right here is for the greater good in the bigger picture. How does that feel? I was called at Unity Village, and I knew and I didn't know. And every little step goes to the next level. And I absolutely did not know what I'd have to give up to stay in integrity, honoring my call to serve. I knew I would teach, but I didn't know at what level. So it doesn't have to be a negative. What are we willing to give up right here in the immediate field for something greater and grander? I was talking with a couple of our members the other evening, and there's that beautiful pathway into Spain. It's called the Path of St. John. And it takes 30 days to walk this. Y'all know what I'm talking about? What's the name of it? Santiago, Camino, whichever language you're in, Latin or Italian. And so the whole idea about that is it's a spiritual journey. And that you may give up everything around you in preparation for this, and then you actually take the walk. They say that 200,000 people take this walk every year. They've been doing it since like 1472. This is a big deal. The Pope even declared it one of the 3 holy pilgrimages, the other one being Jerusalem, the other one being Rome. This is powerful stuff. What are you willing to give up right here in the immediate field for something greater and grander that you might not even know exactly what it's going to look like? But you were called to do it. Be in that place of not just curiosity, not just preparation, but commitment. What does that mean? Commitment. What am I willing to do? What stirs my soul? What passion is out there? In this conversation the other night, one of the individuals said, so you're a senior executive in the banking world, and you'd been there for a while, yes? And you could have kept doing it, yes? So, kind of why didn't you? Because it didn't feed my soul. I knew there was something more than what I was doing. And some of you know that too. And are you giving yourselves permission to walk in the unknown? Reverend Edwene Gaines talks about that. She had $100 to her name and she wanted to teach a class. It took $75 to rent the little room and $25 to put a little advertisement in the newspaper. And that little $25 ad said, $10, I'm teaching a class, come be a part of it. And she sat there in that room with no furniture, and she said, oh, now I've done it. Every little dime I had, I put into this. And I don't know if people are going to show up. 50 people showed up. 50 people showed up. When you are doing this kind of work, this kind of magic in the field attracts that energy in to support you. Sometimes you don't know what it's going to look like. Sometimes you have an inkling, you have a purring within you that is stirring, that is saying, this is mine. I don't know what the world's going to do. Don't worry about the world. Do you. Feel what is coming through. Be that beacon. When you have the courage to look inside and make that commitment, stand in your own integrity. Honor what your journey is. Be open to receive what comes forward. And it might take a little time, and it might take a little more time, and the rewards will be rich. In Isaiah, it says, there will be a way when there was no way. Because you're not in charge of the way. You're in charge of the intention. You're in charge of the commitment to stand firm in what you believe in. To stand firm in the dreams, the ideals, the what you want to create. Don't waver. You might have to tweak it a little bit, but don't waver. If this is your dream, what are you waiting for? Nobody else is going to do it the way you're going to do it. A commitment is willing to risk oneself in order to invest in something that one believes in. The question becomes, why is the C word so scary? What is it within us that might be afraid to fail? When we fail, we learn. When you as a little child fell down in the walking mannerisms, you stood back up. If you're a horse rider and you fall off, what do they say? Get back up. Keep going. I do want to read something from Robert Brummett in this book. Again, finding yourself in transition. This is W.H. Murray, a mountain climber who led an expedition to the summit of Mount Everest. He says this, until one is committed, there is hesitance, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and plans. What would that ignorance be? The ignorance of which kills countless ideas and plans, that moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that you would never otherwise have known about. A whole stream of events issues from your decision to make that commitment, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. What is that for you? You don't have to know the very end of the story. It is our journey and not the end of the story. I'm going to ask Rob if he will assist me as I lead you through some affirmations of commitment. If this is true for you, I ask you to join me, and I will start each one of these 7 with today I commit. And then if you'll join me in the numbers, if this is true for you. So first I start with, today I commit to nurturing my personal growth and well-being. Today I commit to supporting and uplifting my fellow members. Today I commit to opening hearts, inspiring spirits, and forging connections, our statement of purpose. Today I commit to being a beacon of hope and positivity. Today I commit to continuous learning and self-improvement. Today I commit to fostering a spirit of unity and cooperation. Today I commit to making a difference. Today I commit to making a difference. And that commitment comes first within me, to me. And then I bring it out into the world to share with you. And so it is. Amen.